Good morning. My name is Robin Carter, and I serve as President-elect of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm also here with you as Worship Associate for service today. Thank you for joining us today. Wherever you are and whoever you are welcome here and are an integral part of who we are at UUCS. As we move through the current phase of the pandemic, the UUCS Board, with the guidance and expertise of the COVID Committee, continues to carefully balance our need for physical safety and our need for connection and the emotional well-being of our congregation. This has not been easy, and the Board continues to reckon with this responsibility. We must keep one another safe, and we must cultivate our connection with one another. However, plans are in the works to gather here at the church in the spring, utilizing all of our safety measures. But for the foreseeable future, please continue to practice public health protocols such as wearing well-fitting masks, social distancing, limiting group size, being outside whenever possible, and hand washing. As hopefully warmer weather arrives, small groups, such as covenant groups and committees, are welcome together in person outside at homes or on church grounds, practicing all of our safety protocols. Now, allow me to share 2 online adult enrichment activities in the life of our church. First, on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8:30 p.m., now through March 17th, we are watching the video series, A Long, Strange Trip, A History of Unitarian Universalism. Perfect name, don't you think? This series presents a history of liberal religion beginning in the early Christian era, followed by the development of the Unitarian and Universalist faiths through a merger of the 2 faiths to the present. Each week, we watch a 1-hour video followed by 30 minutes of discussion. Join this group by sending an email to ae@uucs.org. That's AE for Adult Enrichment at uucs.org. and be a part of this Wednesday evening Long, Strange Trip series. Second, coming in March, we will share a workshop entitled Don't Fear the Reaper, an exploration of modern death. Presented by Gary Snipes and Lisa Mowry, this presentation will provide clear and simple recommendations to realize a good death when our time has come, and to be able to support others in their dying process. An opportunity for dialogue will also be an important part of this course so that we can all learn from each other. This 5-part workshop will take place on Wednesdays from noon to 1:15 p.m. via Zoom, beginning March 17th through April 21st. Stay tuned to the weekly happenings to learn more. Lastly, I'd like to bring your attention to the flowers on the chalice table this morning. These are camellias from my yard that I brought in this morning in memory of a friend and colleague who tragically lost her life in a car wreck last week. Jessica Munyon's life was short but oh so vibrant. If you'd like to bring beauty to this space with flowers to mark an event or celebration in honor or in memory of someone, I encourage you to do so. It may sound silly, but it's these little moments like me sharing the fact that I'm hurting over a lost friend that allows our shared human experiences that are so meaningful, especially as we continue to be physically apart from one another. If you would like to provide flowers one Sunday, please contact Jean Snipes at flowers@uucs.org. Again, flowers@uucs.org. What an amazing congregation this is. We need each other, pandemic or no. We care for each other and serve alongside each other, so much goodness is happening. Thank you for being a congregation of care. Thank you for being a part of this congregation today.
Thank you, Robin. Sometimes I wonder why I work in a church or in religion at all. It was not what I set out to do. But we hear about the power of community and the work of being a community of care through the real and particular details of our lives, like Robin just offered us all. I think that that's what this offers us. The structures that we've created can be a vehicle to be real with each other and to create a better world for each other. So thank you for offering that to us. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm just so grateful for what you all offer, what you all do. I shared a video with you in preparation for this Sunday service, and we'll talk more about that. If you haven't watched it yet, you can pause this recording and watch it now. But I just want to express overwhelming gratitude that I can share a video like that with a congregation like this. It, I think, goes almost without saying that there is probably no other place in our small part of the world where a pastor, a minister, could share a video of that gravity and power, that level of reality, that level of image and language with a congregation and keep his job. And so I just feel immense gratitude for the real work we're able to do with each other. The video uses very strong language and very strong images, and it works them into an evolved expression. So you need to know, if you watch it, that that's what you're getting into. But I also want to urge you to see the depth, the complexity, and the beauty that is offered through the power of that language and those images. So thank you. I want to give you a heads up and invite you to take part in something that is coming. The date has not even been set yet, but it is on the way. Our board has talked for a number of months about developing a governance study group, a group that would meet to just talk and mostly ask questions about our governance, how we make decisions, how we structure ourselves as an organization. I know it sounds thrilling, but this is a question that's come up a lot over the last few years, and it's something the board has talked about very slowly, taking time with process, which is really good. That's what's needed, not to rush things. And the next step is just to form a little group that will study. Ann Garner, our ministry intern, and I will offer readings from our own fellowship reading list, part of our fellowship process in the UUA. And we'll also read the bylaws and the policies of the church, and most of all, just ask questions. How do we make decisions, and why do we make them this way, and how do all the parts connect? So this is open to the congregation. And what I want for you to know is that it's coming, and to just be thoughtful of that. And if this is especially of interest to you, I want to urge you to go ahead and reach out to me, because we're going to be looking for times and dates. And if this is something you really want to do, and I invite you to do it, I want everyone to participate that wants to, then I'd love to know so that we can factor in as best we're able everybody's schedules to find the best possible time. I think it's going to be better than it sounds. And it will be slow and rich. And this happens in this congregation over and over again, so that I feel a little embarrassed to tell you these stories over and over again. Just when we're working on something else totally different from the opposite side of the world shows up as a kind of echo, a kind of serendipity. So the board's been talking about this governance study group for months, and just this past week at the board meeting, we green-lighted going ahead and forming the group. We're ready to do it. And in the same week, less than 24 hours from the time of that decision, I got a message from someone who has been part of this congregation for more than 2 decades. Part of this congregation, but living on the other side of the world, in a country that I would bet almost none of us have visited because of the politics and the danger of the history of this country, Myanmar. A person in this congregation who finds a spiritual home in this congregation, who has spent the last 20 years working in Asia, and the last many years in Myanmar, teaching, building democratic skill sets with students, who because of the pandemic and now because of the coup that's happened in Myanmar, can no longer be in country. In a sense, is exiled from their country of home, country of choice, back to their country of origin. And we've had a short dialogue about this. The thing that's so powerful in my mind is that in this singular and small and vital way through the life of one person, this congregation has a connection with massive historical and global shifts that are taking place. And those shifts are in large part about the legacy of colonialism, about the oppression of European powers against indigenous peoples, about the exploitation of wealth and labor, and about the political institutions that evolve and devolve from that. In far too short a statement, Myanmar has lived under military dictatorship for years. And in just the recent years, just the last few years, it made a move towards democratic self-governance. Not a full move, and therein lies part of the problem. It never made the full shift. But in the last weeks, another military coup has caused it to regress. And when we think about what happened on January 6th in this country, looking at what has happened in Myanmar is a really good warning of what happens when violence and oppression rule the day, rather than cogent, careful, difficult, muddy self-governance through democratic institutions. So these are huge things. January 6th in our capital, regression back into military coup and military dictatorship in Myanmar. And here in our small community of care, we're raising these questions of self-governance. How do we make decisions together? How do we work together? But the connection is so clear. This is the place of learning and experimentation. This is the place from which the pulse goes out. If we don't do that work to understand what democracy is and how we can think and work together, how can we possibly speak into the world words and actions of power and nonviolence and justice and healing so that everyone has a voice and everyone knows they belong and the world is livable for everyone? We do things here that are small and sometimes really boring, mindful of what they do in the world. I'm so grateful for what this place is.
As we light the chalice this morning, we continue to learn this month from choreographer Bill T. Jones. Reflecting on the evolution of art, life, and social movement through the pandemic, he speaks these words about the future. I'm feeling fierce and brave right now, always full of doubt, but it's okay. It's okay. You can do it.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul.
I listened to a presentation made by the Committee on Ministry to the board this week. It was a short snippet of a vision setting process that the committee is working on. But I watched a beautiful overview of all of the ways this congregation has defined over the years the mission, the vision, and the covenant. The very reasons for existing and doing the work both on ourselves and in the world that happens here. The covenant has become very much an identity of sorts for this congregation since it was written in 2014. We recite it every Sunday, and if you're like me, you see it as much more than words on a page. It's a promise we make to each other, and it's also a hope of what we can be together. So sit up tall wherever you are, take a deep breath, and connect each one to the other as we say these words together. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. I've learned a lot during this pandemic, as I'm sure you have as well. One thing that I am convinced of now more than ever is that we are not meant to live in isolation. We are meant for community. And while community continues to look a little different right now, the simple act of sharing our joys and concerns with one another continues. Stacy Jackson has done a beautiful job for almost a year now of keeping the Rippling Bowl tradition alive. I long for the days when we can gather again together and share the tradition of dropping a shell or stone into the rippling bowl to represent shared joys and lessened sorrows. For now, we'll pause and think of the images Stacy posts faithfully each week on the church's Facebook page and release some of those same joys and sorrows into the rich community that is our church body. In addition to this being a caring community, it is also a generous one. There are so many ways that each of you give. You give of your time, your energy, your finances. I continue to be blown away by all of the amazing ways this congregation pours into the community and to the larger world around us. I invite you now to please continue to support the financial health of this church as an act of generosity, to give towards current budget needs, special projects, and also to learn more about the ongoing annual fund drive that's happening right now to set the budget for next fiscal year. Please go to uucs.org and check out the tabs along the top. There's a donate tab and a fundraising tab where you can learn about more ways you can give. Thank you.
Join me in silence. To build a world. How do we build a world? We've worked so hard I've lost count of the months now, almost a year, 12 months, to make it through this pandemic and to help each other through it, to connect with each other, to keep each other safe. This congregation has done an amazing job just on that level, not even to speak of all the social justice work we've done, the overwhelming generosity of energy and time and skills, and certainly finances as well. I wrote 2 grant reports over the last 2 weeks and submitted them to organizations across the state to represent what this congregation has done in coalition with other immigration advocacy groups in the state to help more than 1,250 other people beyond this congregation, Latinx immigrants across South Carolina through this pandemic. It's unreal what we've done and the work that we've done just to try to navigate these waters. When we think about the last 4 years, what has happened to us as a people, as a country, the roots going back much further than that, decades of political scheming and media sellout and manipulation, and then 400 years and 500 years of colonialism and exploitation that feed all of it and create patterns in our life that are so destructive. But just to think of the last 4 years as an expression of that and what has happened to us as a people, as families, people that we're neighbors with and friends with, how broken apart we are and worn out we are. So much destruction. Even in this congregation, where we have a strong sense of shared purpose, there are great differences. Some folks who think the last 4 years are the best 4 years our country's ever had, and many more who absolutely think the opposite. And if your mind leaps to faces and names, I can promise you, it's not the folks that you think it is on either side. It's not who you think it is. Just that division in a group of people that love each other and care about each other. They really do show up for each other, want to work together, and have a shared purpose. So tired and so broken. So much that doesn't work. Trying to get through. And in these last few weeks, really since, I would say, January 6th more than the new year, the number of folks just in our close orbit, members of this congregation and those very near to us and connected with us, people who we love and are very close to, the number of mental health crises that have happened in the congregation in succession is extraordinary. It's never been like that in previous winters when we all often experience some kind of depression or decline. But the strain of the pandemic, the strain of the isolation, the frustration with the vaccines, how are we going to get out of this, the rise of the variants, the aftermath of a very difficult election year and of the last 4 years, and just all the conflict and the brokenness in us and around us. How do you build a world out of that? We use all this aspirational language. How do we break these deep patterns of violence? Just the patterns of miscommunication and not understanding each other. How do we build beloved community here and in the world around us? This is the big question for our country, for our whole history. How do you break the old pattern to build something new? Well, I want to begin with gratitude for you, for your willingness to even hear these things, because there are many places where a minister can't even say the things that I just said, much less the things that I'm going to say. Immense gratitude for creating a place where we can speak and listen and hear each other when we absolutely don't agree. That is amazing. And gratitude that this is a place where I can invite you to watch a video like the video I invited you to watch. That I could spend a whole month inviting you to watch modern dance, and you'd stick with it. I watch the video counts go up when I share them with you. I know that there are people who are watching these, and I feel elated and so grateful that you're willing to take that risk and just to try. If you haven't watched the video that I sent out for this week, the title is beautiful, and it sends you into the meaning of the piece called The Process of Becoming Infinite by Bill T. Jones. I want to urge you just to stop what you're doing right now, pause this, and watch the video. I need to tell you that it is tough. It is raw in many ways. There is strong language and strong imagery about his life and about our life together. And some people would find the video very offensive. The TED program that sponsored the video turned off the comment section so that all the comments would just go away because the material is so volatile. And nonetheless, I want to share it with you and invite you to watch it. Or because of that, I want to share it with you and invite you to watch it. In this video, profanity becomes a prayer. Literally, that is what happens. There is an evolution of things that are broken, bonding, and transcending into something else without ever losing their rootedness, their grit, and their reality. It's like watching water become wine. It is a beautiful, beautiful unfolding. So if you haven't seen it, I want to invite you to watch that. And then if you've got the time, come back to this. But if you had to choose between the two, a binary between Bill T. Jones and UCS, go with Bill T. Jones today. And then come back to this if you've got time. In an interview about his work, Bill T. Jones used this short expression to explain how he develops his material. He was referencing the piece that he created in the pandemic with his company and all the strife and strain that it came out of, just as we all are living. And he told the story about inviting his dancers to record pieces of their life, just to make little audio or video recordings, and then to share them with the group. How they were buying groceries, how they were going through their day, what it meant to navigate this world. And one dancer shared that in the anxiety of the pandemic, he lay down beside his husband in their apartment in the great uncertainty of all the months that were following. And his husband just coaxed him, just rubbed his head to help him settle down and relax, to sleep. Sleep to get up and live another day. Strive through another day. Thank you, Irene, for the word strive. To strive through the day. And Bill T. Jones said, what we're working with is deep human stuff in a political environment. The raw material of human life, conscious of the political environment in which we live. Such a profound statement, just think about it. Deep human stuff in a political environment. The human is what comes first. The living is what comes first. For those of us that live with beings other than human, I don't think that this is meant to exclude that at all, right? It's the living, the being that comes first, aware of the social and political context, the history in which we live. And so this man and his husband just trying to rest in the uncertainty of all of this, that they are there together, that they can say that they're there together, that they can make a recording of being together and just caring for each other together and incorporate that into a work of art. All of the politics and social commentary that comes with that, but fundamentally, it's these two men loving each other, just resting together to live, to make it through deep human stuff in the political environment. And when we watch this last work of modern dance, this very challenging and beautiful masterpiece that I've shared with you, the process of becoming infinite, Bill T. Jones builds from that deep human stuff in his own life. The dance is a story. It's an autobiography with many pieces woven in, and it's told in pieces that seem disparate and broken, fractured, like many of us feel. A piece from here and a piece from there, and the pieces don't seem to go together. Blocks of pieces woven together in sequence. And we're shown how the pieces that don't seem to fit gradually build together. But those are the blocks, the pieces of our lives. This flesh and bone and experience and feeling, the sweat, he sweats for us to see. It's not hidden and it's not cleaned up. We can hear him breathing, respirating, and in a pandemic, oh my God, that basic human act expands into the political environment just to be able to breathe in a time of protest and ventilators and virus and the suffocation of political structures. Just the human act of breathing as a forceful and liberating and necessary act. And he shares that with us through the microphone. We hear every breath. Deep human stuff in a political environment. The piece is so challenging because it's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's not just graceful. It's not cleaned up. It's not polished. It's raw material worked and reworked in process over and over again. We see the bones of the piece. And as we watch it, if we stay with it, it becomes more than it first seemed. Not just disconnected pieces, but a story woven together, and a story that is more than words. Because we're talking about a man's life, his embodied life, and we see his body, and the movements mean something, and they touch into culture. They access colonialism and cultural appropriation, and blackness, and black history, and family history, and the death of an animal, and reckoning with mortality. All of these broken pieces moving together brought into something more. And at the end, if you haven't gotten there, you'll see it elevates. Somehow the lights on the stage become something different. Through the telling of the story and the weaving of the pieces, and the man's body drawing us into the work, hard work. I think that Bill T. Jones's work, and the reason that I've shared it with you all this month, excuse me, I think that his work is about creating a structure of care. When we watch this dance, he shows us the building blocks, the raw pieces, all the moves that he will put into a composite whole. And the result is that we hear the story of this man's life. And whatever our biases, wherever we come from, however much we like dance or not, and we can just not like it at all, that's okay. You can not like it. It's tough stuff. It's a challenge. And it is beautiful. We experience the man. And it would be very hard to not feel some kind of care for him because he in his life and body becomes so fully present to us in the piece. He's standing there vulnerable to us, strong and resilient and angry and powerful and gentle. He calls us friends and he swears, both things, all things together. And we feel the power and dignity of his person, of all that he's lived through, being black, growing up poor, being gay, being HIV positive, being an artist in a world that is unaccommodating to artists, all of these things. He makes himself vulnerable to us and shows us his strength and causes us to experience it, and we feel the dignity of that, the power of it. We care for at least a moment. We care. A dance that shows us its structure, that brings us into its process, all of its pieces on purpose, so that we care. Deep human stuff in a political environment. And the other two pieces that I've shared with you this month, very similar. The piece Still Here that works with mortality, with real people suffering terminal illness, telling the story of their lives and offering movement, untrained as dancers, but offering movement to express what they're living and feeling, and all of that built into a masterwork, a piece of art that shared around the globe, a structured piece of art that cares for these people. We see them as living people, even if they've now died. And we care for them. And for ourselves, we face our own mortality. And in the piece Afterwardsness that we looked at last week, in the pandemic, structuring a dance around all the safety protocols we're all living, caring for each other to build a piece of beauty. A piece that should not be able to come alive in the world during the times that we're living in because of those very rules, using those rules to adapt and to build something enduring and beautiful, shared by caring for each other through the safety protocols. Art is beautiful in and of itself. It is powerful as an experience in itself, but it is also always poetry. It is metaphor. And the reason that I've shared these extraordinary and strange pieces with you, that I've risked my work with you to share his work with us, I just can't imagine there's another congregation in our area that's doing this right now, is that his art shows us the power of building structures of care. From the deep human stuff that is more than political, more than social, but conscious of the political and social environment. From that raw human material of our lives, building something that really cares for us in our lives. And that has the power to address the political and social without being caught in it, without being lost in it. It can transform it. And it may look strange and be challenging. People may write ugly comments, but we're the ones doing the dance, creating the beauty. And oh my God, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. I mean, really, let me just level with you. Can you imagine a stranger, more awkward gathering of people than this congregation? And now, even more so, that we're all virtual. Think about the homes we're all sitting in. Think about the clothes we're all wearing now, or not. I don't know. You're on the other side of the camera. Think about all the weird times of day and night when we watch these videos, because all of us have the strangest habits of work and life. We are strange and beautiful people doing a dance that the world often doesn't understand, and for which the comments are often very ugly. And so what? Deep human stuff transforming the political and social environment for the sake of everyone, whether they understand it or not. This is our art. And Bill T. Jones, in all of the raw material of his life, the particularity of his life, grown up poor, black, gay, HIV positive, artist, aging. His age is a necessary and beautiful factor in this dance that we look at today. He names it explicitly. In the particularities of this man's life, he calls us to awareness of the life that we share and the possibility of building structures of care, structures that care for us all. Our overarching theme for this month has been gratitude. And I want to invite you one more time into a practice of gratitude. A practice in the raw material of our lives, deep human stuff. A practice in our breath and in our bodies where we're sitting right now, wherever we are, walking in the woods listening to this, sitting at home listening to this, wherever we are. If you're comfortable, close your eyes and breathe. Just start by breathing as he breathes into that microphone. Breathe and feel the beautiful, ragged rawness of your breath giving you life in a time when breath is stolen from people through police brutality, through a global pandemic and a virus, through the suffocation of systems of oppression. Breathe. Feel that breath. And bring to mind all that is your life, the raw human material of your life, the exquisite, sweaty, working particularity of your life. Your age, your gender, your class, your racialized identity, your ethnicity, your national origin, your country of choice, your country of exile, your sexual orientation, your political ideology, the raw material of your life, your particular way of showing up in the world. By birth, by choice, by discovery, by all the process of your life, the broken and disparate pieces of your life flowing by living into a whole story that is you, a whole narrative that may be accompanied by ugly comments and people that don't understand. But so what? You are the beauty. You are the art. You are. You are. You can see it in him, and he is sharing it with us so that we know it in ourselves. You are that beauty in the raw material of your life, woven together through the process of living into a story that is transcendent. In your breathing and in the raw material of your life, in this moment that we share together through space and time, give thanks. Give thanks, not in a way that excuses or absolves or forgets the political and the social. That stuff is real. But go deeper than that stuff into the deep human stuff of your life, and just for life, just for you, give thanks for you. You're allowed to do that. The beauty of you, like the beauty of him, give thanks. How do we build a world when so much is broken? We go into the deep human stuff and we love it just for being as it is. And mindful of the political and social, but not entrapped by it, we tell our stories, the broken and disparate pieces of our lives, through the process of living, slowly unfolding together in ways people may not understand or value, whatever their ugly comments, moving slowly through them, working and sweating together, building a story together, until it becomes something more than we saw before, spinning into a light that is somehow different than it was before. A light that we just couldn't see as clearly. But as the pieces of our lives weave together, we start to see it. We start to see it, and all of these broken pieces, still real in and of themselves, that we love as we love them, each in themselves. All these parts of our identity, our background and our history, our gender, our sexual orientation, our racialized identity, all these parts of ourselves, our class, our ideologies, all that we think and feel and have lived, our families, our choices, our conditions, all of these things weaving together become something more than broken pieces. They become beyond, something shared and transcendent. And somehow by working with the raw material of our life, we find our common humanity, that each of us has these particularities that paradoxically fuse us into something together. And he says it himself in conclusion as he spins through the infinity of our lives, in this life and beyond this life, transcendent of this life while we're in this life. All of these polarities and brokenness and divisions weaving together. And he calls out, goodbye, binary, the polarization and division. Goodbye. Goodbye. Our peace is all there. The binary is there, but it is no longer what is happening. It is what we have built out of into something much bigger and shared. Because we cared for each other. And we built structures that cared for each other, every person in their particularity. Until we see that we are part of something whole. Goodbye, binary. Hello, future.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing. singing for our lives.
At the conclusion of his beautiful and challenging modern dance composition, The Process of Becoming Infinite, renowned choreographer Bill T. Jones, who by telling his life story has named himself as poor, black, male, gay, HIV positive, aging, angry, and resilient, invites us all into the future with these words. Goodbye, binary. Hello, future. I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming.
So grateful for the work that this congregation does, that you allow me to do and that we do together. I feel it. Thank you. Next week, we are going to have a guest speaker, a person who has worked out of the divisions, the binaries, the polarizations and brokenness of our life to create something more. The Honorable Brenda Lee Price, who is a former representative in the South Carolina legislature from Spartanburg and from the district where our church resides, will come and speak with us about the work that she and many others continue to do in our neighborhood and in this community. This is a woman, a black woman, a person whose life has been given to service and politics, who knows all about systems of violence and oppression, all about binaries and polarization, and who has fervently and diligently and beautifully worked with all of those pieces to weave together something bigger to lead us all. She has visited us in many ways and led us a long way already. And next week she'll speak with us again. I urge you to listen to her. She will lead us further. For our benediction today, there's one more video that we've placed in the order of service. And I'll share it on the closed Facebook page for the congregation after the service is over. It's very short. It's just 6 minutes long. It's called The Red Circle and the Blue Curtain. It shows us 3 people already breaking the binary. 3 very different people working an improvised process together. The beauty of what can come from our particular, disparate, even broken pieces, our particular lives, when we move them together. Revel in the beauty and the joy of the piece.
We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength